attempt today is to educate you on the different variations of dock, and this is our version of this old dock. The name of my company is AccuMold. We're a plastics engineering company. We also have a division called Lifts, Ladders, and Docks. Most of you still are putting up with Grandpa's old dock or the previous owners, where it's all wood and iron construction, and your back's worn out. So when you make a purchase, we want to make sure that you're fully educated, because all of the new dock is good. It's just each one carries a different benefit. So the very first thing we're going to do today is scan over what different materials of docks are available and the pluses and minuses on each one. Okay, the first thing we have on all the modern day dock is what's called an aluminum stringer. The stringer is actually the side boards that hold everything together, and typically they're called an F channel. And inside of that F channel, we either put mill finish aluminum, a composite plastic, an aluminum stringer with treated wood deck, or anodized aluminum. Coming back to each one of these different materials that are encased in the aluminum stringer, this is called a mill finish. It's a non-anodized aluminum. It will stay cool to the touch because aluminum loves to carry away the heat and keep at the temperature of the water. That is, as long as this is an all welded construction, so that that heat dissipation will soak down through these pipes. Mill finish requires no maintenance, no painting. It's extremely lightweight. A 3x10 section is 77 pounds, and a 4x10 section is 101 pounds. So very light compared to the 220 pound all wooden sections that you might be dealing with today. Mill finish is maintenance free. You won't have to do anything with it. The only difference is, since it's not anodized, it will be more susceptible to turning a foggy gray, and also will be more susceptible to staining or dirt building up inside of these nice treads. Now I'm going to scan down here to anodized aluminum. It is exactly the same tread as what we showed you before, only it goes through an electrochemical process where it actually converts the surface to an aluminum ceramic. What that means is it's like it's sealing all the pores. It will stay more uniform gray, and it will also be easier to clean. Both mill finish and anodized are both maintenance free in the same lightweight construction. If you just like the beauty of the more uniform, then the anodizing costs about $75 to $100 per section more than the mill finish. The advantage is it just stays prettier over the long term. Now, converting to the most economic form of dock is an aluminum stringer with a treated wood deck. The first thing you should know is the new treated wood decking, which is 5/4 radius board. You should use a Universal Forest Products version that does not have copper sulfate. It's a premium wood treated deck, and the copper sulfate, if you accidentally get the wrong material, will turn the aluminum green. So if you're going to buy an aluminum stringer with a treated wood deck, you want to make sure that you're using the premium treated wood, non-copper sulfate. This is your most economical form of dock today, other than all wood. And what it does is it has the advantage, it takes the largest part of the structure and all of the weight out of it by using these aluminum stringers and just putting deck board into it. The disadvantage to it is, after about 5 to 6 weeks of drying out, you'll want to stain it with a clear sealer so that it keeps the porosity closed up, and it'll maintain its cleanability much better. Over the long term, you will find that these boards can crack or split. Although they're very nice and they're very reliable, it can be a little bit of maintenance with that type of decking. But that is the most economical form, followed by the mill finish is the next up in price range, followed by plastic and also anodized aluminum. Now the last version we're going to go over is an aluminum stringer with what's called through flow decking. This is a composite plastic made in tan, white, or gray, and the advantage of this is the water will flow through it and fall off of it, and it's plastic. You don't have to maintain it. It should have a 25 to 30 year life. But in range of expense, we're going wood, to mill finish to anodized or composite. All of these materials will give you a great long-term life, just different degrees of maintenance and cleanability. Okay. Our next part here is to educate you on how to support a dock, and these are called stanchions. This is the traditional, conventional stanchion assembly, which is a 2-inch aluminum tube with a cross-arm clamp that clamps onto the vertical pole, and then a stringer bracket that goes on here in order to support and bolt onto the dock. This is probably the most popular version out there now. At the bottom we have bottom plates. That is, if you have a hard surface or a sandy surface that's non-muck, you would take this entire assembly, put it out in the water, simply lay the dock down and bolt it to it. Very nice, easily, lightweight assembly. Bottom plates, vertical poles. Vertical poles are measured in height. The way you'll want to size and select your dock is measure the water height. If it is 2 feet high, then you're going to want 3 to 4 feet high poles. You want the bottom of your dock to be at least a foot off the water so that no water will move it around, and also so it won't tarnish the aluminum. So to size a dock pole, if you have a firm bottom in your lake, you want to be 1 to 2 feet off of the water height to allow you to raise the dock up or tie a rope onto the exposed aluminum. Okay, this version of a stanchion is called a post and beam. It's also patented, called the Max Lock. It's made by Max Manufacturing in Jackson, Michigan. And what it is just simply 2 poles with bottom plates or augers. And if you'll notice, everything is integrated. Rather than having all of these components all go together, it's just a post and beam construction like this. So once you loosen up these 2 cap screws, they just simply slide over the pipe, the aluminum tubing, 2-inch, and you just raise and lower it to the desired height. What it does for you is it's much more rigid, and it's only about $6 to $10 more than the conventional system that we have with all of these parts. This is becoming the most popular version out there for simplicity, strength, firmness out in the water, and that's called the Max Lock. Okay, this is the last version of the stanchion that we're going to show you. There's a variety of manufacturers of it, but it's called an underdock support. The real advantage to it is everything is hidden underneath the dock and there's no poles sticking up. So some people prefer it for looks and cosmetics, and it's a beautiful thing. It sits underneath the dock. It has traditional foot pads on it, or you can put augers. And your dock simply sits down here, and by loosening this, the pole will telescope out from 3 to 6 feet. Now there's also other versions that have different telescoping heights. But this version is more expensive than the Max Lock and the conventional system, but much more rigid. As you can see, we have a 7-degree angle out here, which gives it more firmness. A lot of people will use these at the end of your dock in order to keep it from swaying. And that 7-degree really does make it highly effective at keeping the wobble out of the dock at the end of it. But this is called an underdock support, and the advantage is no poles. It's just a better looking system, and it's also very rigid with the 7-degree camber angle. Now we're going to go over different componentry and the reasons for using each one. The most popular style of bottom plate or foot pad is an aluminum die cast that comes out of China, and that simply just bolts onto your 2-inch pole like this with a bolt, and that will keep your dock supported. If you can possibly use foot pads versus augers, your dock installation is going to be much simpler, because simply you're going to just set the stanchion down in the water, throw the dock on it, and be done. When you don't have a firm bottom and it's very mucky, or if you want to anchor a boat to your dock, you're going to want to use some kind of auger system. These are all interchangeable. You can take this off and put the aluminum die cast or the composite torque auger onto it and simply ratchet it into the ground. Or you can use these holes here in order to put a rod or a bar through it, and just simply twist the pole down into the bottom of the lake until you reach some firm ground. Now what you're going to have to do is experiment and try that. In order to size your pole heights, you're going to need to find out how far down before you reach firm ground. We've had installs where 12-foot long poles in 1-foot deep water didn't even reach solid ground. Most people are using 4 to 6 foot poles and augering them down. Now, if you were walking out in your water and it's mucky and you're sinking to your ankles, most likely you're going to use one of these 8x8 plates, and it'll probably settle in and sink about 6 inches and stay there. However, if you're sinking up to your knees for a good measurement, you can use a larger plate called a mud plate, and that's simply 12 by 12 in surface area, so it gives you more area to keep it from sinking. If that doesn't work, then you're going to need to go to the auger system, whether it's an aluminum die cast or a composite plastic. In addition, if you do have an older dock, these are the two components called a cross-arm clamp and a stringer bracket, and that would be with the traditional aluminum assembly. So in review, if you can use a bottom plate, you want to use that for ease of installation. If it is mucky, you may want to go to just bottom plates that are larger. Or at some events, what you do is just bolt a board onto this over to the other leg, and that gives you more surface area. Using a common deck board or something, bolting through these holes will give you more surface area. The last thing you want to do if you're anchoring a boat or you can't get into firm ground is to auger down until you get something secure. So those are the methods for bottom plates or augers. Okay, now what we want to do is attempt to show you the pre-engineered construction. If you want to put an L or a deck at the end of your dock, the manufacturers have come up with some pre-engineered, pre-cut, pre-ready ways of doing that. And this is called the MaxLock T&L. So what we're simulating here is if your house is here, your dock ends here, and now you want to put an L into it. Instead of putting multiple posts here, we just simply tie this in with a lobster claw. At the end of this is a lobster claw that reaches underneath the last runner support and grabs it around it, eliminating that fourth post here. So you simply put that on, lay the dock in there, put 2 bolts in, and these MaxLocks, conventional on one end, lobster claw on the other end, are available in 3-foot, 4-foot, 6-foot, 8-foot, 10 and 12-foot, and 16-foot lengths. So in other words, when I get to the end of my dock, whatever size platform I want, I'm just going to put multiple sections of dock, whether they're 8-foot or 12-foot. You're going to put 2 or 3 sections of dock. And this is all pre-engineered and pre-made so that you can just bolt it all together. And that's called an L or a parallel system. You can also make a U-dock out of it or about everything else. So that's today at This Old Dock. Our website is www.liftsladdersandocks.com, all plural and all spelled out. And if you would like to visit that, there's pictures of all of this product on that. Thank you very much.